Okay, we're doing a winterization on a Yamaha 9.9. Complaint was it's running a little rough, pretty hard to test it in the water. So we're just going to go through the winterization. I'll start with getting some seafoam in the tank. First I want to see if they have any water in this tank. Yeah, I can see it's mixed. Okay, I'm going to get some seafoam in there.
What is that?
Seafoam. What it does, it stabilizes, plus lubricates the carburetor. And when I put stuff away, I don't drain the carburetors, I leave them full. I've always had problems with draining. And he told me this is non-ethanol fuel. It's pumped up. But before we go and start it and get the water going, I'm just going to take a quick look. You guys want to come over here on the Yamaha, you just pull the handle down, lift up and forward, take the cover off, and we'll take an overall look before I start anything. Like I said, I pumped it up, want to make sure I got no fuel or anything leaking. All those wires are good, fuel filter. I'll be changing that. And if you look right here, it's telling me that this plug is loose. So even before I start it, I'm going to grab a rag, and also I'm going to check if that's stripped out or it's just not tight. Whoever put the plugs in last time didn't do it correct. Didn't do the proper torque. Okay, we move to the other side. No leaking in the gasket, but you do have a lot of oil down here from the fuel leaking, combustion leaking. And cables and everything. Advance time and everything's looking good. Okay, so I'm going to get my plug wrench and just check that. Okay, let's see if this is loose. This is loose anyway, the tip on it. I don't like these plugs that do this. I like them when they're solid.
Are you going to change that?
I'm going to change the plugs on this here. But let's see if it's loose. Oh yeah. I just touched it and I turned it forward. So it had a loose plug in it. I turned it forward. Let's see if I can take it off by hand. Yeah, see? It's a loose plug. So I'm just going to tighten it down just to do my run up. So he was losing compression out of here. And I'm going to check the bottom one. No, let me grab a wrench. 13/16. Okay, we'll see if this one was tight. Oh, okay. Watch this. You get a good view of this?
Wait, hold on. I focused that one. Yeah.
That wasn't tight at all. Okay, so both plugs were loose.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't seem to mess up the thread, so and he was complaining that he was seeing gasoline hitting the water when he was running. Now, a lot of your mixture would have been just pouring. There's a hole right here, so I'd say it would have been coming out of there. So I was going to look into the carburetor, but I guess I don't have to know. I'm 99% sure this was his problem. But I do have to run it to fog the engine. And these plugs are going to be changed anyway, so I just snugged them up. Like I say, they're going to be replaced.
The water?
Brake clean. That way I can tell if I leak it anymore, but I'm not going to leak anymore. This was just loose. Get this rag under there. I'm just getting the oil out of there. That way if he runs it next year, he's not going to see his oil leaking out into the water. Okay, clean again. So I'm just going to get these back on here. Let's see if that's loose. No, that one's tight. Okay, so before we start it, we'll put the key in. Get that over here. I'll get the water turned on, make sure I'm in neutral. Forward. Okay. Get the choke on. Get that out of my way. Okay, gas pumped up. Okay, we'll let that run for about 15 minutes just to get seafoam into the carburetor. Okay, it's been running for about 15 minutes. I'm just going to take the plug out right here, take some fogging oil and fog the engine. Okay, so you take this cover off. And from there you can see inside the carburetor, so I'll put that over here. I gotta stand there. Okay, go back. Okay, I'll go turn the water off. Okay, so I'll put the plug back in so I don't forget it, lose it. And then I'm going to pull the, I'm going to bring it in the garage and pull the spark plugs out. Okay, plugs back in. We're going to bring it in the garage, pull the spark plugs out. I'm going to get some fogging oil in each cylinder, turn it over a couple times, and put a new set of plugs in for next year. And I'll change the fuel filter time, and then I'll go down and change the gear oil in the bottom. But he was complaining about it spitting oil. His mixture, just watching it run, is way too rich. I don't know, maybe he didn't put enough liters or put too much oil. Something's wrong. His oil that's coming out, I can see it coming out of the exhaust. And when I looked in his fuel, I thought it looked pretty dark. But after seeing it run, yeah, there's way too much premix in this, well, in this tank that's running this engine. When you're using the muffs, when you're in the stand, you have to actually disconnect the hose first, hook the hose up after, because you can't get the hose through here. So now I'm just going to take the plugs out, put some fogging oil in there, and crank it over a bit. And you can see the engine is burning way too much oil. So there's too much oil in his mix. Okay, so we spray a bit of fogging oil down each cylinder. Not that it probably needs it. There's so much two-stroke oil in there, but okay, so we turn the engine over just to get that lubricated in there. And when you turn the engine over, make sure you don't have that plug in here. That way it doesn't fire the spark plugs, and it doesn't, because there's no place for the spark to go right now. Watch it, it's oil's flying back at you. It just went all over the camera thing. Okay, so we'll gap the new plugs. I'm gonna clean the excess oil out of here. You can see it, that's how dark it is. So much oil in there, you can't even burn it all. So it's coming straight out of the exhaust. I did talk to him. He said he didn't mix it. I think somebody else mixed it for him, and I think they just overdid it. Okay, let's check the gap on these. The gap's supposed to be 32 to 35. Plugs are gapped, I'll put these in. Okay, so they're seated. There's a half a turn. So it's anywhere between a half a turn and 3/4 of a turn. Or go to the manual and get the spec. Okay, that's good. I've been doing this for a while, so almost a half a turn. It's going about just by feel. Okay, that's good.
Then you start?
You don't start it. This is, It's got an oil on the cylinder so it doesn't rust while it sits over the winter. It's everything inside the engine now. That's why I went through here and I sprayed the fogging oil to coat the inside of the engine around the crank and everything. Connecting rods, the back of the piston. So all that's full of fogging oil. And then the last of it, some of it was in here, but just a little extra in here. Anyway, so plugs are in. So that's going to sit there. Next thing we're going to move is go down. We're going to drain the oil. But if you go to the side over here, you notice it's not straight up and down. So I'm going to take this out and bring it down. And there, it sits straight up and down. But this was hanging halfway out. There's supposed to be something, you can see where it's broken right here. So I'll have to get him a new part. Okay, so you take your screwdriver, take this one out. And that's fairly loose. It wasn't in there tight at all. Spark plugs weren't tight, this wasn't tight. I don't think it took on water.
Why still the same yellow? The same.
Because this plug was loose again.
What? They're not do proper job.
I don't know who's doing the work. It's just it just came off. Were you up here?
Oh.
I just.
Okay, Helen. Yeah.
Yeah, this is also loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like this. That's it.
Wow.
So, spark plugs weren't tight and this wasn't tight. That's not a good sign. And that's why he's got a little bit of water in this, not much. Okay, so we let that drain. Yeah, there's water in there.
Yeah, there is.
You can see the water. Okay, so we're going to leave that here because there's water in it. We're going to let it drain for quite a while. So we're going to turn this off. And I'll be back when it's all drained. They're ready to refill.
How many minutes?
We're going to call it quits for now. It's getting late. We've got to eat and get you back home.
Are you going to leave it here?
Yeah, and leave it like that and
How about
drain.
the camera? Are we going to leave it?
No, it goes in the garage, or goes in the house. So we let this sit overnight, just to get as much of the oil out of there as possible. And yeah, it's not looking, get that out of there, not looking too healthy. So I'm just gonna fill it up with fresh stuff. I'm just using the Quicksilver gear loop. Let me get a rag. My bad. Okay, I forgot to hit record. My camera person's not here today. I'm just finishing this off because I did let it sit for a day to let all the water come out of this. Anyway, so what I did, and I'll just explain it because I've already done it, is I always keep one of these lying around and I keep it cleaned out. So this here was a little over 500 and this is 500. So you just, with the bottom screw out, you just fill this all the way up to the top and then you squeeze it in until it comes out here, and then you put this in and you go that way, because I couldn't find the adapter for the pump, but this is just as good as long as you have enough to keep it right to the top full. Like I say, I always keep one on the side. So anyway, it's full. Judging from what came out of it and what went in it, it was about half empty. So I have no idea the condition of a lower unit on this. It had water and lube with water mixed in with it and half empty. Anyway, so we're going to drain this again, then we're going to clean this container, and like I say, we're going to put this back in my cupboard until the next time I run across one with a small screw end on it. The reason why I'm draining it is because next time I may use a different gear lube. This was a Quicksilver, the one for the more expensive one, higher horsepower engines, but I like putting a good gear oil in the bottom end of any outboard. Okay, right now what I would normally do would be replace the fuel filter, which is here. But this one here is not dirty. You can see it here. We're going to leave it. To change it, you would just take off these two lines, squeeze them, and a bolt on top. I'll leave a link to a fuel filter in the description, and anything else I use on this. And we'll just go around and lube everything. I'm using PL 100, Pro Labs, if you want to call it that. I like the lube. It doesn't dry up like all that WD-40 stuff. It stays as a good lubricant for a long time. As a goodbye, check things. Check your wires, make sure they're not rubbing. You see this right here? And this wire is going to vibrate and wear through here. That's what this is for. And this is in the wrong spot, so we're just going to move that over here. So it vibrates, it just hits this button, not the wire on the case. And all that's in place, all that's good. Nothing's going to wear or shave through. Okay, we're good. I'm going to put his pin back in that's broken. I'm going to mention that to him. And he had this set on the second hole. So I'll put it back in the second hole. I should actually clamp on there, but it doesn't. I'm going to get some lube down here. Okay, just checking the stand, make sure it's good enough. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is grease it. On this particular model is only one grease nipple, which is right here. And we have a marine grease. This one holds up really well to water. You can see I don't know if you can see it, maybe I should have grabbed the flashlight. You can see water coming out of the joint up here. Lots of water coming out. And wipe off the excess. Okay, put the cover back on, and this will be ready for next year. Because of the water in the bottom end and low on gear oil, it's going to have to run this for a week or two, pull it back out and check if the gear oil has any water. I don't know if it's taken out any seals or even what it sounds like until it's in the water. That's the importance of doing a winterization before the winter. In case you have a lot of water in your bottom end, sometimes it gets a lot worse than this. And this was low with water. I don't think it would have cracked, but sometimes in the winter, if you don't do it, it freezes and blows your entire lower end out, and you have to replace it, which could be $1,000 to $2,000. Sometimes it's not even worth doing the repair plus labor. Anyway, if you like the video, appreciate a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching my channel. Bye for now.